In the dusty village of Kibuye, she rose each morning before the sun, helping her mother boil tea over firewood before walking 6 kilometers to school. Her world was structured, disciplined, and filled with quiet dreams. To one day become a lawyer, to give her mother a better life, and to feel something beyond obligation, something like love. She wasn't expecting her first encounter with time to come in the form of a boy. On that particular Monday, Achieng took a different route to school through the open-air market. That's where she saw him. A boy no older than her, standing beneath a battered green umbrella, surrounded by old watches, alarm clocks, and stopwatches, each one ticking or clicking or refusing to move. A Kezel festet cartonos, tabla olva chateau volt. Ido elado megfizeteto. Reliable, unforgettable. Joe Mwangi was lean, sharp-eyed, and had the kind of confidence that didn't need noise. When Achieng paused at his stall, he smiled. Not a salesman's grin, but the kind that said, "I see you." "You're late," he said, tapping an imaginary watch on his wrist. "The sun's been asking about you." She blinked, unsure whether to laugh or roll her eyes. "I'm not buying anything." "That's fine. Most people don't know what they need until they've run out of it," Joe replied. His hands were calloused, his fingers stained with oil and dust from repairing clocks no one else cared to fix. There was something about him, a rhythm maybe, that made Achieng linger. They talked longer than she meant to. About time, about school, about the way the sky looked when it was about to rain. Joe told her he had dropped out after Form 2 to support his grandmother, but he spoke with intelligence. Street smart, sure, but layered. She walked away that day with a repaired watch she didn't remember bringing, and a name she would keep hearing in her thoughts. Joe Mwangi. 2 weeks after meeting Joe Mwangi, Achieng found herself summoned to the headmaster's office. She panicked, mentally reviewing everything she might have done wrong. She hadn't missed a test, hadn't talked back to a teacher. But when she stepped into the tidy room with its faded portraits and stern silence, she found only one other person. A boy leaning against the window, his school sweater tied carelessly around his shoulders. "Relax," the headmaster said, glancing up from a stack of papers. "This is my son, Joe Otieno. He's just transferred from Nairobi International. I want you to show him around." Joe Otieno was every inch the polished student. His English was smooth, his accent expensive. He wore leather shoes that gleamed like glass, and he smelled faintly of cologne and new books. Achieng, in her worn uniform and dust-streaked shoes, suddenly felt like a cardboard cutout beside him. But when their eyes met, he grinned and said, "I hope this place is ready for me." The next few days, Joe Otieno followed Achieng like a shadow. He asked endless questions about teachers, lunch queues, school clubs, the best tree to hide under during surprise rainstorms. At first, she found him arrogant, too used to getting his way. But over time, she saw another side. The way he stopped to help a Form 1 boy tie his shoelaces, or how he paid for a classmate's lunch when no one was watching. They were different. Painfully so. Joe Otieno had studied in schools with swimming pools and drama clubs. Achieng had learned to write essays by candlelight and studied under the stars when electricity failed. But somehow their conversations always found rhythm, like mismatched puzzle pieces that stubbornly clicked. And yet, he never talked about time. Not the way Joe Mwangi did. Joe Otieno was always looking ahead. Big city dreams, Ivy League plans. Achieng wasn't sure if he saw her as part of that future or just a stopover on his way there. Lake Victoria was where Achieng went to think. On Sundays, she'd carry a notebook and a flask of tea, settle beneath the acacia trees, and let the waves speak for a while. That's where she saw him, a tall, quiet boy, seated alone on a rock, sketching something into a tattered notebook. His hair was sun-kissed and his school uniform was too big, sleeves rolled up and collar unbuttoned. She didn't mean to speak to him, but when the wind snatched a page from her notebook and he caught it mid-air with surprising ease, they both laughed. "Careful," he said. "The lake's a good listener, but she doesn't return what she takes." He introduced himself simply, Joe Kamau, newly transferred from a fishing village near Homa Bay. His father had died the year before, and he now lived with his aunt. He wrote poetry but never shared it, drew landscapes he never showed, and smiled like he had stories stitched behind his silence. Joe Kamau was unlike the other Joes. He didn't chase Achieng's attention. He drifted into it like a breeze. They started meeting at the lake more often, sometimes talking, sometimes not. One day he handed her a folded piece of paper.